Hello, hello. This is all working. Hopefully. I'm keeping an eye on the drop frames. Because we're going out to both Instagram and YouTube. And Instagram's been doing my head in recently. Hello. How are you doing? The Bone Brew, what's going on? Sotin Art. Welcome. Simon, great to have you. Young Word, welcome, welcome, welcome. Super Trooper. What's going on, dude? Random suggestion, a questions channel in the Discord for live stream. That's a fantastic idea. Good stuff, Bone Brew. Mego Sinaga, welcome. So today, I'd like to have a chill day, if that's all right. Just like a chill, we do whatever we want. I did this this little line work the other day. I was thinking, this was my initial thought, that I want to play around with, okay? I would like to play around with more simplified rendering techniques that still gets the idea across really nicely, but doesn't look too digitally or digital. I don't even know what I mean, so I don't expect you to understand what that means. But that's what I'm going for. So, James Lewis, no worries, my friend. Thank you for popping in. Oscar, great to have you. But I'd like a bit of a juxtaposition for using big words today. Coming out with the big words. I'd like to play around with sort of doing the background like this car, like more on the realistic side. And then maybe her a little bit more, I guess, cell shaded but still like, I don't know, still got a little bit of my style or my sensibilities in there. I don't even know what I mean. I'll know it when I see it. Material. Hello, I'm Korean. Art is so cool. It is. So I'm studying while watching Gumroad. Beautiful. Great to have you. I'd like to get warmed up though, if that's all right. See if we can just do some practice of getting the most out of our rendering. Tamoki, great to have you. Welcome. Hope you had a good time in the lesson yesterday. Going back towards the thing you're doing with the dinosaurs in terms of render, not so much. Not so much. Simpler. Simpler, if that makes any sense at all. Probably not, but we'll see how we get on. Let's have a look. Let's see what I've saved recently. Is this a... That's a painting. Can I get an image, please? Someone give me a photograph. Just something like even a little still life or something just to get warmed up, you know? Yeah, cell shaded. Kind of. I don't know what I mean. I don't know what I mean. I know the feeling that I'll get. I know it when I see it. The most annoying thing to say. I'm just trying to find something. Let's see if we'll roll the dice. Roll the Pinterest dice. Hopefully the Pinterest dice isn't R-rated. We'll see. Let's have a look. It might be a car, might be a building, might be a bloody apple on a table. Who knows? I just want something where there's enough light. I mean, this is kind of like along the lines-ish. I don't know. Simple. Simple, but it gets the idea across and it's like, Boom. Beautiful. Even this. This is quite nice. I'm going to save that. Anyway, getting off track. Getting off track. Yes, I started working on my homework. Beautiful. Maybe I'll use this time to work on it more. Fantastic. Fantastic. Looking forward to seeing it. All right. Come on. Come on. Come on. Give us something. Give us something. Let us roll a 7. Roll a 7. I don't even know if that's a good number. I'm just talking shit at the moment. Do you often do color swatches prior to painting? Basically never. I'm currently dealing with that problem with my watercolor work, trying to understand color theory more in practice for my renders. Yeah, no, I don't really do color swatches. I haven't. It doesn't mean that they're not a good idea, right? All right, let's just look up still life. That's what I'm kind of looking for. Still life. I haven't done a simple still life, I don't think. On here. It'll be nice to just strip it back to your more, I don't know, not generic. Generic's not the right word, but like what you'd expect from an art practice of an atelier. That's a nice tomato. That's a nice tomato. All right. I'm just going to go, but what I'm going to do, let's see, right? So this is the thing. The subject matter kind of doesn't, at least to me, doesn't matter. It's all the principles, right? Same as the tools. You can use all the tools in the world, but if you don't know what you're doing with them, you could be holding a $50,000 tool. If you don't know how to use a thing, it's useless. Monty, first time watching a live. I found your VODs recently and really enjoy watching work. Monty, great to have you. Thanks for popping in. I mean, if you're going to do the cell shaded vibes, and why not look for a manga or cell shaded picture? You're like, yeah, I will, I reckon. But I just want to get the juices flowing. You know what I mean? Just get something, sort of dip kind of into the comfort zone, but see if we can simplify. All right, so I'm just going to do it here. Do it on the same canvas. Just have a play. Play with a tomato. I thought I recognized that tomato. It's a pretty recognizable tomato. It's a lovely looking thing. All right, let's actually, let me, for my Instagram people, let me just scooch it over to where I'm working. There you go. All right, so we obviously, it's my stream. We're going to be doing some stylized stuff, right? So we're going to push the shapes a little bit. Maybe we look at first, get the color picker. Bam, bam. Line, 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 line. Simple, boom, break up the background. Then we've got this thing in the foreground. Cloth. Bam, 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 bam. Cool, all right. That's enough of the background. That'll do for now. Okay. Maybe we go back to the old school time limit. Old school, but like. Some warm-ups. Also, how much thumbnail planning do you actually do for a piece, Ben? I've been watching a ton of Thomas W. Shaler lately. Amazing watercolor. So I have to check him out. A little bit with my personal stuff, like not on stream stuff. I do a bit of thumbnailing. Well, I have been doing a lot more thumbnailing as of late, which has been fun. Cool. Here's the shape we shall work within. Let's make it more interesting. Let's push it, pull it. Tomato. Tomato, tomato. Alright. Something like this. Let's play. Let's play. So we'll go within the shape here. Let's try and find some of these colors. using a clipping mask. What am I doing? Let's unclip this bad boy and then clip that one. All right, what am I seeing? What am I seeing? I'm seeing oranges. I'm also seeing reds, obviously, but I'm seeing a lot of transition colors going from more yellowy oranges even to into the red. So there's nice little transition colors that are happening all over the place. So just laying some in. Then we can add an indication of the little green bit, the stem, I guess you would say. Him, Alvaro Castaganet, Joseph Zubrik. Oh, those are two Aussie fellas? Maybe? Super, you read my mind. Just about to whip out Filthy. Bam. Also, Super, I've been playing with rigging, of all things. Be good to hop on another session. I just haven't had time, dude. But I'm playing around with the bones. Been getting frustrated with the bones because I'm trying to rig a hand. And I want to know, and I want to like get there fairly quickly with like understanding rigging when it comes to deformations as well. So I think I'll have to use something like drivers, I'd imagine. So like, for example, if you've got like the hand, right? The hand, if I, like say this is my base focus, yes, scumbag. You get the idea. See, I got my like base mesh. This is my base mesh. If I go like this thing pokes out. So I want to be able to do that when the thumb comes in. And I'd imagine from my research, that's what like drivers are for. So I can lose many an hour playing with that. That's what I'd imagine. Yeah, you can use drivers. Most people use corrective bones. Okay. Didn't even know that was a thing. Beautiful. The hardest part for me lately has been changing my thinking from line to more shapes, negative shapes, silhouettes, that sort of thing. Yeah, it's a little bit of a jump if you're not used to it. Particularly if you are more comfortable with line. For me, they're kind of on par now, but I think I talked about this last week, maybe. But I think we've all got like a default way that we can see stuff. Also, there's no way I can say that I can only talk from my experience. I have a default way of seeing stuff, and it's oftentimes with shape. But with practice, line, I can see stuff with line, right? And I can interpret things with line. But a lot of the times, I find it a lot easier, or more natural to me, I guess, to see things in shape. Tomoki in Blender, yep. Yeah, just let me know when. I'll see if I can help. Yeah, man. Yeah, I don't want you to. I don't want to just take your time to help me. I'll pop into one of the live hangouts if I have specific questions. You know. Kentas, what's going on, dude? Great to have you. Okay, so this is the point where I could accidentally get really blendy, right? And get really, really noodly. But because it's a tomato, I don't really care that much. I don't know if getting the likeness of the tomato matters. I'm also looking for, I don't know, appeal. Making it feel nice. So what have you guys been up to? Talk to me. What's the latest? What projects you're working on? For me, we have started the Grey Matter Live workshop is officially underway. Had the first European and American time zone, which I think is the way to go if I'm going to do this again, because everyone seemed alert and not up until bloody like 1 a.m. like last time, which is sucks because I'm in freaking Australia where the time zones are annoying. But it felt good splitting it up, doing what I can to sort of accommodate everyone's time zones, but also where I'm not up at like 5 a.m. doing stuff either. So it's like a nice little balance. All right, so what am I seeing here? I think we can come through and start sculpting out some of the cloth shapes in the background, because that's going to sit this thing. No, didn't happen. Phantom sneeze. Bop, bop, bop. Boom, boom. So everything is going to have an equal and opposite reaction. Now, I don't know if that's even correct. That's what comes to mind when I'm about to say. But everything is going to affect everything. All right, so me putting these shapes here, it's going to affect the tomato. Zip, whack in the dark shapes there. Zip, zip, bam, bam, whack in the dark shapes there. The thing that has been kind of helping is trying to think of shape as drawing and painting from the inside out and line is outside in. Yeah, I can see that working. Nice one. Just more gouache. I did a painting, got the values right, but completely missed on the colors. So I spent today doing James Gurney's triad triangle thing to study. Beautiful. Yeah, I got to try that stuff. I shared it on Discord. It's a copper tea kettle. Nice one. Is that the same one that you showed me live, maybe? Or was it another one, a new one? It was a huge snowstorm in New York City, so mostly chilling at home, but thankfully working on my personal projects. Beautiful, Tomoki. Lots of thumbs for world building on my end. On my end, found myself kind of stuck doing landscapes and environments and buildings. They're easy, so trying to push my perspective and compositions for more striking views. Beautiful. Yeah, I'm focusing a lot more on composition lately as well with my personal stuff. That's a goal of mine, is to get more interesting things on the page. So here at the moment, I'm kind of going in and out of 2D and 3D thinking. Here I'm just looking at the shapes, very 2D, you know. Ah, that's right. The one I showed you with chess pieces. That's right. Sorry, it had like a copper color to them. I did the tea kettle a few days ago. Nice one. Tomato, tomato. Yeah, I think we can just go. Bum, bum, bum. I'd like to whack a bit of texture, but I also don't want to spend a month of Sundays on this one in particular. See if we can get a little bit of that variation going. Cool. Back to the tomato. It's basically when you pick 3 colors and then mix them in a triangle to see what colors you get. If you choose primaries, then you get secondaries on the side and gray in the middle. Yeah, if I'm honest, I've never done much of that at all. I should really try that. Tell you what though, my voice is going to be wrecked after this 5 weeks. I've got to learn. I was actually looking it up. I have to learn how to talk through, like, also if I'm recording a lot more, which I'm going to be doing in the coming weeks, talk like let the air come out, because sometimes I'll be up like this and I'll be going up and down and up and down, and that's like straining my voice apparently like crazy. So I've just got to kind of keep it not monotone, but just don't force it, I guess is a way to say it. Try not to force it, because that was an issue I was having at Lightbox, you know. So all I'm doing here as well is just using the line tool with a certain width with the filthy plugin and just whacking the shapes down with a little bit of the hue shifts. The reason why I chose to do that is because I kept choosing colors and I didn't know how they all mixed. Nice one. So I just needed to test colors out. Beautiful. I like what I'm hearing. This week, I'm going to do an oil as well. I'm saying it here because I have been neglecting my oil practice. I was going hard there for a little bit. They are sitting there waiting. They are no longer alla primas. They are, I don't know what it is once it transitions from an alla prima to another alla prima. See, I haven't even touched the highlights yet. That's when it's going to get nice. That's when it's going to get, like, beautiful. But I've been also investigating a little bit more into 3D printing as well. That's what got me onto the idea of the armatures and the rigging in Blender, because I'd like to be able to sculpt something, then position it in a way instead of sculpting the whole thing from scratch again and again and again. Let's have a look here. I'd even like to see if I can get some of these stair-step transitions going. Do I use Procreate? I do sometimes. As my on-the-go tool of choice. All right, let's see. Let's play with the highlights. See if we can get something way too gray. Way too gray. Bam. 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 Almost like a collage type of deal. I think we can desaturate a lot of this as well. I was doing a lot of color swatches today, extremely boring, but I learned a bit. I still have some more that I need to / want to for learning the paints that I have. Beautiful. That's a great idea. Sayed, are you using shapes so that you have vector drawing? No, I guess you could turn it into a vector drawing. This is just a good way to get me out of like a blending mode and really just trying to see things in shapes. All right, it's a nice little practice, quick little way to study, which can look kind of cool. It's essentially like the equivalent of using like a almost gouache-esque with like a chisel brush, where you're just going through and really thinking about where you're placing those colors. Tamoki, how are you imagining the hand rigging working? Are you thinking of 3D printing each part separately, like Lego pieces, and assembling them in the end? Or is it more like two different projects? That's a great question that I don't have an answer to. I'll want to not think too much about the implementation, because I will get analysis paralysis and I won't ever do it. So I'm thinking about doing hand, here, I'll show you. It's going to be a lot easier. So I'm trying to play, because I did a hair like like this guy a while ago. There's like an experiment, little short, small art drop, right? But what I want to do is almost like a series of these hands in different poses. So it's like boom, 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 boom. So that would be sick as like a reference just to have in real life, so I could pick it up. So I can do like a male, female, larger, chunkier, you know what I mean? Just as a little experiment, which could be like a cool video as well. And then I can study from them to, yeah, bring it full circle. But this is what I'm talking about. Like, I would love to, I don't think I have the rig on these guys yet, but this is the sort of plan, just as like a little side project experiment thing. But yeah, then, yeah, whether I print them whole or I could have them interchangeable, like maybe the palm is the base and then you can change the fingers out into different, I don't know. I really don't know. Could be cool, like a cool experiment to have a play around with, I reckon. Nice. In that case, I think rigging with weight painting will be a cool idea. First, you need to retopology that. Yeah, fucking. I've also been playing with that as well. I ended up getting that the thing that Super introduced me to, the speed retopology, which I understand why you like it, because it just uses Blender's native stuff. It just puts a little bit easier, not easier, but a more ergonomic, I guess, UI over everything. And I tend to like that. I tend to resonate more with things that seem to use the native Blender tools rather than like the proprietary stuff, even with some texture painting. I've also been playing around with texture painting as well, which has been fun. Using YouTube Paint, which is a little bit more like UI heavy, but what I've also been doing is going into the shader editor and understanding what it's doing. So then I've been able to get another plugin, which is auto reload. So then I've been doing a quick pass in YouTube Paint or UQ Paint, whatever it is, whatever it's called, saving that as an image, putting that image as a PSD, saving that PSD, then using that PSD as the image texture on the model, mapping it to the UVs, and then painting in the Photoshop file, and then have it auto reload every like second. It is a pain in the ass, but it's good learning. You don't need to do all that for what you want, to be honest. Don't need to retopo or blend shape stuff. Yeah, we need to have a chat. I don't want to be wasting time. This is the year of efficiency for me, because I can get lost in the source because I like just learning new stuff for the sake of learning new stuff. Are you talking about 3D texturing? Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Talking about 3D texturing. Basically, once you have the base sculpt, keep the fingers separate from the hand, beautiful, and then rig it simply. You can then refine the sculpt afterwards. I like it. Would you recommend having the individual knuckles as like, this is a separate shape, this is a separate shape, and this is a separate shape, instead of doing the weight painting, and then the fingers are separate shape altogether? Aquatini, I can't remember what we said that your name was, but Aquatini. Hey Ben, small suggestion if I may. For the recorded live streams, could you put a number on the title, like draw with me 1, 2, and so on? What do you think? Yeah, not a bad idea actually. The only thing is they're not linear unless they are linear. So putting a number on them. I could go back. I could maybe write a script to go back through all of them and just number them chronologically. So this would be stream like 100 and whatever. So then it will keep me up to date. I might actually, this is not a bad idea actually. You can do that. It might be overkill, but try it. See what happens. Beautiful. I'll give it a whirl. All right, we zoom out. We've got a little tomato, almost a capsicum looking thing. Let's do a little bit of background work, and then maybe we can try our car. So I'm also going to be squinting down a little bit. Just separate it from the background. Let's get it within that shape. Thank you very much. Rigify is really good for that. Do you mean something like Yan sculpts? He sculpts things and rigs it to pose it. Yeah, kind of, yeah. Super, I don't like Nomad, but that might just be because I'm so used to Blender. I'm very picky about art software. He's a man of taste. I like it. He knows what he likes. I personally, I enjoy Nomad just for picking something up on the iPad and just going. Also, I don't know if you guys, like those that are using Nomad, it's also on desktop as well. It's now a desktop app, which is kind of cool. There are times that I see some people using ZBrush, and I'm like, that does look, there's something about it, because I think the poly count can get really, really high. There is something about that high poly count where you can just go in and just and get stuff looking really, really nice. That is kind of maybe it's also probably a limitation of my machine for Blender. But I haven't actually played around with ZBrush before. Ben, will the tomato be the car color? Probably not. The car's going to be white. So it's going to be taking on a lot of its environment colors. Very good for pizza. This is true. That's the selling point of ZBrush, but the UI is horrendous. I know. So much software. I hope this changes soon. I hope this changes soon because I think a lot of software has so much potential. So much potential. But it's just the UI, the usability thing. It's just... But that's also the issue with software, right? From experience, once you've got a certain way of doing things, you've got a whole audience that you potentially want to get in and have them enjoy the software, and you could redo the UI, make it super user-friendly, but then that screws over your current user base that have already learnt the systems that you've built, learnt exactly the ways to do things. Like it's a really tricky problem. It's got to be very, very carefully done. Otherwise, you just alienate your biggest user base. That's a selling point of ZBrush, but yeah, I know it's such a fast medium in terms of learning values because just add water. True, they play by their own rules and don't care what you think. This is true. I would love to know the conversations in the meetings, you know. So yeah, do you do paid consulting? I'm an app developer myself, and I think your perspective would be super helpful. Yeah, man, flick us an email or a DM. Because I mean, we're going through this at the moment with Drea. We're refining all the UI. We've got probably most of the feature set in there, which is beautiful. It's working lovely. But then it's like, all right, what makes sense to us? Is it going to make sense to everyone? Because we've been in it for so long, which is a big part of beta testing. In ZBrush, you can save your sculpts as a base in the brush settings, so recreating multiple characters, just adjusting the forms and faces will be faster. Well, ZBrush's biggest user base is movie and game, so they don't need to care about anything. This is true. That's it. That's very true. Very, very true. But let's as a thought experiment, let's go, okay, shoot it like 10 years into the future. What if Blender... I don't know. Yeah, I'm just talking out my ass here. I don't have any of the answers, right? But just thinking, what if Blender then gets up to speed tools wise, or like all the little things that everyone loves about ZBrush? What if Blender is able to recreate that, but with a much nicer UI? Then the people that are learning the tools moving forward, particularly self-taught, because I think self-taught is going to be such a massive thing in the future. The easier to use tool is going to win in the longer run, particularly if the feature set is on par or better than the current tools out there. I don't know. I'm just talking out my ass, but it's an interesting problem. I love it. Yeah, because you got to think, yeah, right now it's industry standard. But is that going to be the same moving forward? I was even, do you guys watch a Corridor Crew or the Corridor channel? They was talking to a fella that worked on the latest Avatar, and like they just basically build custom software. They're like, fuck it. We need very specific things. It's fascinating. They're like, he like goes a little bit deeper into how that sort of works. Wasn't the majority of the backgrounds in the movie Soul and Into the Spider-Verse made in Blender? Maybe, I don't know. Prashad, did someone say Blender? Prashad, we gave you the bat call. I love it. What's going on, dude? How are you? See, something like this, I can like chat kind of easily because I'm not thinking too hard. Maybe want to introduce some line work as well, just for a bit of spice, you know? Blender won't. Open source is too scary for business. How do you invest in a software that requires you to make your code open source? True. Very, very solid point there. J K Studios 1. How you doing? Blender Guru actually talks about how making add-ons for Blender is risky. Nothing is stopping someone from taking your code and selling it. This is true. This is true. Yeah, because he's got the polygon add-on, right? But that also, there's nothing saying that down the track that Blender's model changes to like, well, not the whole model, but that's a problem for developers, right? Because they should be compensated to some degree. And if it's then too risky, then it's like, I don't know. So yeah, it's an fascinating problem. Do a little bit of squigglies. Why? I don't know. Don't ask me. We can do some of these like micro textures in here if we want. So unnecessary. But unnecessary is my middle name. Now, what I'm also observing, there's a little bit of a cooler area around these highlights. Not cold, but cooler, which we can sort of add in. It's not just a flat, I mean, we did just do flat shapes, right? But we can see and use our observations in context. It's not a blue necessarily. It's just like a slightly cooler color I'm seeing. Just on the edges of where. I've also been playing around with geometry nodes as well. I mean, I've been doing a lot of Blender the last week or so. So yeah, it sounds good. This is my first time seeing your great live. Can you tell me what Dria is? You said you've been working on it. Sorry for spelling it wrong. Nah, that's all right. Dria, D-R-I-A-H. It's a course platform that we're building, and the focus on it is about the content. Content first. It's not somewhere that you end up putting finished pieces of content. It's not just a video library. It's a tool where you can beta test and get feedback on the content before, during, and after launch as well. So, and that's what I was looking for. I couldn't find anything that could do that. So yeah, should be coming out early this year. We will be doing testing very, very soon. Cool. All right. I'm getting noodly. All right, cool. I got what I wanted out of this. Let's see what we can do. Whoa. So let's take it. Where did my stem go? Oh no. We've crashed Photoshop. We've crashed Photoshop with a tomato. We've crashed Photoshop with a tomato and I don't know what's happening. I think I'm going to have to. Did I save? I don't think I saved. Oh, lucky. We're back. We're back. Okay. Let's just throw, I don't know. It doesn't even matter. It's just a warm up. Cool. Whack him down there. All right. Now get the reference that I used for this lady. You can hop onto my Pinterest where I save all this stuff as well. So it was this one. I like the 7-Eleven vibe in the background. I've made this more of like a fisheye kind of lens. So everything's going to be kind of curved a little bit. All right, so what I want to do is I want to work on the background first because I think I want to adjust this character. It's maybe too same to the reference. So let's see if we can start playing. Yo, what did I miss? Nothing. Just a little tomato. Nothing crazy. Tomoki, I love Blender, and I think the Blender community is one of the most supportive communities out there. True. So let's start. How do I want to do this? Blender is a great tool and the community is generally quite great, but open source has a lot of problems. So yeah, that's also true. Many a thing can be true at the same time. All right. What have we got here? Let's start playing. The whole idea of this is to get a bit of speed going. I also want to drop the horizon. Well, not so much drop the horizon, but account for a bit of that fisheye, right? So if I overlay my thought process. So you see how this car is very, like, comes up and down, up and down, like everything's on an arc. Then we've got our horizon line around here, or maybe about here actually, and then it's sort of doing something similar. She should really be a little bit more warped, but that's fine. So what's also going to happen is the background is going to be doing some stuff like this. And we can play around with how much. Doesn't have to be physically accurate. That's what the experiment's for, right? That's what playing around is all about. Yeti. What's going on, dude? I see you in there. Artsy Kero, first time viewer, but I've seen your work for a while. Sorry to randomly ask. That's all right. But when you have three values in one group close together, how do you personally calculate your value groups in real time? It's a fantastic question. Very specific question. How do I group them? Well, I guess if they are very close together, you have three value groups. When you have three values in one group that are close together, they are grouped. Are you saying close together spatially or value-wise? Because two very different things, if that makes sense. We need some a bit of context there, and I'll do my best to give you an answer. All right. So let's start whacking in some indications. I really like, let's also knock down this background. Just a smidge. Knocking down the background just gives me a little bit more context. It's the same deal as when you see traditional artists, oil painters, that kind of stuff. They tint the canvas a little bit. I might even compress this 7-Eleven thing. I don't know. We'll see. Augustine. Art Time, Sunday of Creation. Thank you for being here, man. Appreciate you popping in. I appreciate it, Orkin. So what we can also do... Nah, that's not. Don't worry about it. Not necessary. We do want to keep in mind the horizon. So I'm going to get pretty sketchy and pretty blocky with these shapes. And that can be the issue with this way of working, as it looks really, really shitty to begin with. Well, not really shitty, but it's just like, what is even happening? But then all of a sudden, it's just like, boop, 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 and it all comes together. Because to draw the car, I would like to have some context of my surroundings. I'd also like this to be a bit of a vignette. I've been inspired a lot by your Dean Cornwells and your Lion Deckers, your Saturday Evening Post kind of vibe. So it's not just like a full image. It's like going to be cut off a little bit and like composed in hopefully an interesting way. We'll see. So yeah, I would like to do some art challenges as soon as well. I've just been really focused on getting the workshop up and running to a standard that I'm happy with. Also, for those that have joined the workshop, thank you very much for putting your trust in me. We've got I think we're a full house in both the time zones, which is nuts to me. Value-wise, like I calculate the key value multiplied by the background value to find the shadow. But I end up getting myself confused on values when there are varying values surrounding the figure. Varying value is very close in value. Well, that could be a good time to say, or maybe those values are too close together. That's why you're getting confused, because if you're getting confused, potentially the viewer is as well. It's very hard to determine this without seeing what you're talking about. But if it's on different forms, you do have to be careful about making sure they're feeling like they're separate. You can do that with many different ways, the composition, but also with the value as well. Let's just block this all in. Do we have enough to start painting the car? I think we do. Fairly enough. Yeah, let's give it a go. We can always come back to it. So I'm going to work within the shapes that I build here. Up here, the tire there. Some of it is going to be a bit tricky to see. I want to ignore the lady. here, just giving ourselves a shape to work within. All right, step 1 complete. Now let's get to carving in some of these darks, because there's going to be some really nice subtleties in the materials and the colors, and we can push them even more, right? I was doing an illustration study and some came back odd. That must have been it, because most came back accurate to the calculations. Thank you. I'll take note of that. Beautiful. Sorry I couldn't be of more help. But yeah, good little rule of thumb. If you're getting confused with stuff, the viewer probably is as well. Fisk, please stop. There's better be a bloody emergency, Fisk. I'm going to need some explanation. All right, see, using a little bit of what we're playing around with the tomato. Let's darken this right down. Yeah, there's going to be a little subtle. I should do this probably just for, I could do it all on one layer, but my future self would be kicking me if I did. It is nice working with some more geometric forms. Alright, so these lights are going to be a little bit more on the saturated side. So I'm just doing an alpha lock on the layer as well. That's how I'm drawing within that same shape without doing like another layer mode. Another clipping mask, sorry. Please have a time. So polite, Super. That's your Canadian coming out of you. All right, I've got a bit of glow. We can come back and refine that. You see, I'm doing it like blocky. All right, I might keep that style. I might not. We'll see. I'm not making any promises here. Christian, I see you. Got eyes everywhere. Dinkin. Hey, Ben, started to get into digital art finally. Welcome. Fantastic. I feel confident with my lines and forms. Awesome. When it comes to paint and values, I feel lost. Any pointers? How I can go about learning the concepts? It's a big topic. It's a big topic and there's different schools of thought with it. For me, I like to understand what's happening with the light and understanding light from a foundational sense. Because then you can reverse engineer pretty much everything. Everything and anything. So, along with values, I would recommend thinking about why are you putting down each stroke. Even just that, I think, can go a long way. Like, what's the purpose? Why is this value darker? Why is this lighter? Is it because the surface is closer to the light source, further away from the light source? Just getting that mentality of asking why at least helped me out a ton. Because then at least if you don't know, then that's something that you can go and explore. I'm like, all right, I don't know why I'm doing this thing, whatever it is. And we do need to cut out some of these shapes. So let's go to our base shape and start cutting out some of them. So we've got the window here. Now, unfortunately, I would love to use that plugin called Stylized, but if you are on Mac, it's made for Mac. If you're on Mac and you're on Tahoe, I think the latest update, it just bricks it. You just can't use it for whatever reason. I think the developer's working on it. But that would be super, super handy in this instance, because you can get smooth lines when I'm using the Filthy plugin. Bull Rider. I'm 14. I try to do my best, but it's like my artworks just don't come out right, like they're missing something. One, I empathize with that. It reminds me of myself as 14. I used to get very frustrated, and very, 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 very frustrated, bordering on angry with my art. What I would recommend is, it's hard because it's all hindsight, right? You're in it right now. You're 14. This is the oldest you've ever been, that you only know what you know so far. Know that getting frustrated isn't going to help anything. Although you might feel it and whatever. Put down the pencil, the pen, the paint, whatever. If you start feeling that, come back the next day, or just take a break, go for a walk, give yourself some time. If you're working on a larger project, pause it, try something smaller. Try something more manageable, something that you can get your hands around within a shorter period of time, like a smaller study or something, just to get your mojo back. Right? Give yourself some patience as best you can. I know it's hard. Easier said than done. Hi, amazing. May I ask what program is this? The text is too small for me to see clearly. This is Photoshop. Hi, Ben. Is there a big difference between using the iPad and Photoshop? Not a massive. It depends on the program. If we're talking about Procreate, most of the tools that I use in Procreate are the tools that I use in Photoshop. So there's nothing really, really, really different, you know? A thought, if you think your art looks bad, that means you have a good eye and your eye is more developed. Boom, Prashant coming in clutch. Love it. Good advice. If you think your art looks bad, that means that you have a good eye and your eye is more developed than your skills. Fewer true words have been said. That's very, very good. So that's a good thing that you're frustrated. And I have to keep telling myself that on a daily basis. It's good that I'm annoyed right now. Dinkin, that makes sense. Appreciate the advice. I try to really understand what I'm doing so I'm not just copying all the time. Thanks again. Of course. Thanks for popping in. All right, let's start shifting this car into that more greeny, because it's got to be catching some of this light that's like this fluorescent light. So with this, I was also thinking about the composition in the sense of how am I going, because I'm going to post this hopefully within the next few days or whenever I finish it, right? So I'm thinking about, all right, how's the crop going to be? Because I might not just post the whole thing. I might crop into her. So can I get a little bit of the story or the image just in this thing? So I might have the 7-Eleven behind her here. So there's like in front, middle, and behind, right? Procreate can feel more traditional with modern digital tools added. It can be more intuitive. Photoshop has a ton of features which can be less intuitive. That's very true as well. I only use a very, very small selection of tools in Photoshop. Procreate is fit for purpose. It is a digital art tool. Photoshop, you can do all sorts of stuff. Photo editing, vector stuff. Although I wouldn't recommend it necessarily in Photoshop. I would hop over to Illustrator for that personally. But nonetheless, you can do that. Arthur. Hey Ben, what's your best tip for drawing expressive eyes? Okay. Expressive eyes. Think about the stuff around the eyes, namely the eyebrows and the lids. Less so the eyeballs themselves. You get so much expression just from the eyebrow, like the upper and lower lid and the eyebrows in conjunction with one another. The eyeball part is only part of the story. You can do website design in Photoshop. Yeah, you can do anything. Like, if it's an image, you can create it in Photoshop. Again, I wouldn't do website design necessarily in Photoshop. You can. I have done in the past. You could do typography. Again, I wouldn't necessarily do it in Photoshop. I would look at InDesign for like layout and that kind of thing. So it's one of those like everything kind of tools. I use Critter for pro animation and art, but since Affinity is now free, I might try that. Yeah, it's good. Good call. Good call. Good vibes. All right, so I'm trying to work efficiently here and get the biggest bang for my buck, all right? So I can start to feel the whole scene. Start to feel how it's gonna look. I'm not worried about too much of the detailing stuff yet, because that's when I will probably be off stream and I'll just turn on Spotify and zone out. I think we need some context of that 7-Eleven sign. jumping back to the background. Thank you so much for the tip. Always love the style of your stylizations. Thank you. Thanks for popping in. All right, so I'm going to create a shape to work within. Just makes it a bit easier. So this is the shape I'm working in for the fluorescent light. All right. Then I'm going to make another shape. So we'll just work it in shapes. That is going to hold that 7-Eleven, the stripes. And then we're going to work within that. Cool. Who's your go-to artist when I'm off stream? I like listening to Adam Savage's stuff. I like listening to Tested. And speaking of expressive eyes, a cool little video that is kind of out, like not exactly painting per se. The more recent Grogu, the animatronic one, how they put like all servos and everything in this silicon face of Grogu, and how they talk about the eyes and how you can get so much expression just with that lower lid. Very interesting. Recommend it. It's a good watch. Now there's got to be a bet, like this is where I might use like a vector tool here, because I'm working against the tools here, so I might come up here and just place them exactly where I want instead of coming in and erasing and then I can rasterize it. Again, these aren't the most intuitive. Tools to use. There's more of that like lime greeny sort of color, but we can play around with that later. I can duplicate this, make that the red, the orange. Bam. Make it smaller. Make it smaller. Does not have to be perfect. Thank goodness, because it's not gonna be. I think we can brighten up this guy. Duplicate. Have you done any texture painting in Procreate Super? Like importing the models? 7. Let's go. Now we're getting a bit of atmosphere. Yeah, I haven't tried it either, Super. I reckon it could be cool. I don't know how clunky it would be from like a workflow perspective, but it could be fun. Oh, should I like farm some hate comments and call it like 6, 7, 11? Just purely for engagement. I would hate myself, but do it. It's just as an experiment. Something I haven't realized about the logo is it lines up nicely with the, because we don't have a 7-Eleven where I'm from. I think in like Melbourne and Sydney, and they all have 7-Elevens. We don't have 7-Elevens here. Where did that go? Ah, it went underneath. Awesome. Just putting yourself underneath all the layers. Great job. All right, I'm getting way too finicky with this logo. This doesn't matter at all at the moment. We're looking for the painting context. I'm making room for the 6 though. That's fine. I've tried it before with Procreate. I usually exported an OBJ with UVs. Nice. Texturing high poly models that way was a bit challenging, but for low poly models, it works really well. Nice. After I just exported UV PNG maps and it worked fine. Just do that, and then I'm just going to copy that and then make it just this thing there, just for a little bit of context. The cool thing is you can export each shader separately as well. Oh, nice. Like roughness, specular, normal. Ooh. Nice one. All right. How's this looking? We get rid of our lines. Okay, it's looking like a thing. Looking like this, like a thing. All right, next up. What are we looking at? What are we looking at? I want to make these glow. That's what I want to do. Draw Wonder, good morning. Great to have you. Yeah, so I want to have this sort of like that crossover between like realism and sort of that stylized kind of vibe, which could be quite nice. Whoop, what mode am I in right now? Okay, I was in quick mask. Good luck in the stream, the Bone Brew. Always great to have you. Have fun. So we're getting somewhere fairly quickly-ish. Just with blocks of shapes. Ben, do you use hatching in your drawing? Sometimes. I've actually been doing a little bit more of that recently. Draw Wonder. Following your grayscale method uploaded in Procreate made it easy for me to color skin, but which layer you use to color clothes? Just whack a new layer. Give a new layer a shot. That's one way of doing color and values. I don't do that as much recently, but I'll whip it out every now and then. You know, I'm very experimental. I'm in experimental mode as of late. Kind of want to follow that trajectory of the perspective with these lines that I'm throwing in here as well. Feel like I could have warped the car a little bit more. I might do that. What's the equivalent convenience store you have in Australia? We have a 7-Eleven, but in Sydney, in Adelaide, we have, I think the equivalent would be On the Run. I think that's our equivalent. OTR. Got to fix up this over here, but that's all right. Hmm. So now there's some subtle color shifts here, particularly underneath here, because there's like lights lighting up the license plate. So to make sure we get that. Now this comes the boring bit. I'd like to play around with a little bit of the anime style as well, with like my own sort of flavor. Mix my influences, you know? I like how you're mainly focusing on environment right now and after you paint the character. Yeah, because I mean, sort of akin to what we were talking about in the lesson, I like having context of what I'm doing because I'm not copying the reference. I might not even do the same colored clothing. The different angles, especially with the specular reflections and how the light is working, is all going to be different. So whacking in an environment, even how we did with this one, just putting in the background first, started adding some of those elements to start to really get an understanding of what's going on. Now I do want to try and keep the character a little bit more simplified. Because if we're rendering everything, I don't know, it could look cool. It's a good practice. But if I could keep her a little bit more simple, that might be fun. As a challenge for me, just to keep it simple. Because I'd love to be able to knock like one of these out in a day. One of these kinds of illustrations. Not exactly like this, because this is quite large. But just as like a goal, is like, what can I get done in a day? Instead of spending multiple days and weeks. And Fat Cappy, what's going on? Welcome. And I think leaving a little bit of the line work or cleaning up the line work a little bit and then leaving it would go a long way potentially for this kind of style. Oh no. No. I want it on this layer, thank you very much. Get that lighter, more leather material. So that's going to reflect the light a lot differently. I might want to make it a little bit more of like an off-white, but we can fiddle around with the colors a little bit later. But you see, I like the juxtaposition, again, fancy words, between like the simplified feel of her and the more realistic rendering. I don't know. Something cool about it. Maybe like that mustard kind of color. I don't know. It's giving animation style, yeah. Definitely. Do you want to do black boots? I don't know. Give them a little bit of a color difference. Got to think about the silhouette as well. Is she popping out from the background? Yeah, there's something about her. She looks huge at the moment. She looks like a giant. I think it's something to do with the feet. So I might need to push them back a tad. That's all right. We can do that all after. Just experimenting with the different styles. Having a bit of fun as well. Not stressing too hard about it. What color should her hair be? Maybe it's dark. Maybe it's white. Who knows? We can play. Isn't it how it's supposed to look? It's fisheye, right? Yeah, I know. But I think that's the issue. It looks a bit funky. I don't know. I'll do some tweaking. I'll separate her. I'll keep her separate. She's not a giant, just closer to the camera. This is true. This is true. I like getting a little bit of that blue, kind of how the reference has in the cup as well. All right. Let's get the whites of her eyes, which aren't going to be white. What I'm going to do now is try and get some of that life happening in the window to the wall. Let's not finish that lyric on stream. Okay. Maybe the issue isn't there isn't enough foreshortening on her. Bingo. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking maybe this and this leg should be, this leg in particular should potentially be pushed back a little bit. Maybe. Because even though this could technically be correct, because the leg's sort of crossing over the, or like almost in line, it might not work. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the whole scaffolding. What we could also do here, because everything's fisheye and it's going back in space and it's really distorted, maybe we have this a little bit lower. So then, if there was an actual person standing in the background, maybe this is how tall they would actually be. You know? Does that make sense? So just keeping an eye on that instead of just copying the reference one-to-one. That's going. I almost think, as I'm going through this as well, this background could maybe benefit from following the same trajectory. So maybe it's actually got a curve. If this is our focal point here, like in the middle, maybe this whole thing should also be curving like that. I wonder. Let's keep going. We can always distort it later. Still unfine. Thank you very much. All right, now's the time to squint down. Start picking out some of these little details. Red Banjo, one quick question. Which format size do you use for your IG posts? I'm trying to do one and I think I'm going to start an art account. Beautiful. So I'd love to hear some advice from the goat. I'm far from the goat, but I appreciate the kind words. You could do square aspect ratio. I would also recommend playing around with whatever the aspect ratio of 1080 by 1350 is. I think it's 4 to 1 or 5 to, no, not 4 to 1, 4 to 5 or 5 to 4. What you can also do is look at, just so you're doubly sure, you could get an image off of Instagram of an artist that you like, copy it into Photoshop, and then have a look at the dimensions. Go for it. Go for it. But that's all I use. I use the 1x1 or the 4x5, typically. This one's probably going to be a 1x1. No worries, Wood Banjo. Appreciate you. So I'm almost going to do these. These little guys. Whoa. Get back to where I want you to be. There's going to be a layer in between these details, which is going to be the shine on the windows. Not just yet, though. Notice we haven't touched any layer modes. This is all just pure pixels. I mean, they are with layer modes, they're still pixels, but you know what I mean. Pure uncut pixels. There we go. What's also happening, it's subtle, but the headlights are on. And that's shining on the surface here. So all these values are going to be quite bright. Well, not quite bright, but brighter. We also want to give some depth. Imagining that this is the light that's inside. All right, we zoom out. Look like a thing. The new artist in town. Great to see you again. By the way, Ben, I forgot to ask. I used the 1080 by 1350 and it ends up being a bit pixelated. Times it by 2 or 3 before you upload it. Mark, what's going on? Is it more like bokeh effect that you're doing? Kind of. I mean, if you look in the background here, these guys are pretty blurry. So I'm just trying to have less detail in the background. I still want to get the impression, but it's just going to be a lot less sort of detail. Now what I will do now, I'm going to use screen, our first layer mode. We need some more color variety back here. Now we can start. Oh, I see something. I see something. I see something. That could be fun. Here, if we break up this bar of lights, right? And then we add the context of where these are coming from, this reflection. We can come up here and then place. Oh, it's so fun. I love playing with light. So good. Which could help frame her. Hello? Ah, that's going to be on top of everything. Oh, no, hold on. I was right. I just had it on delete. See how now these two are talking to each other? It's beautiful. Hope you're doing well. It's my weekly wake up to say hi to Ben and fall asleep to his voice time. Well, I hope you have a great rest of your sleep, Mark. Appreciate you popping in as always. Thanks, Mark. But we've broken the seal on the layer modes. Now I'm using them a lot. Or a lot. I'm just using overlay. Okay. Notice how it's kind of very low contrast at the moment. It's not super poppy just yet. That's something that we can come over the top with later. Fabrizio. Hi, Ben. Greetings from Chile. How you doing? Great to have you. Let's try this cell shaded thing. It could fail, but you never know if you don't give it a whirl. But it's like cell shaded adjacent. So it's going to be very soft. Whoa. When I say soft, I mean like lower contrast. Gotta love when the light starts lighting and the shadows start shadowing. You know it. No, I'm not using a mouse. I'm using a stylus. Oh, you almost had me spit my coffee everywhere, dude. So I can see the berries from the beginning. Mark, you have a great night, dude. Caught me off guard, that one. The fucking berries. Can I just add a bit of color variation in the face? Is that alright? I think that's okay. The berries, I tell you. Now, why am I doing blue here? Look at our environment. The big blue sky. Too bright. Mm-mm. Too bright. We want to be subtle here. We want her to not be as rendered. That's the goal. Because this is leather. It's going to pick up all sorts of reflections. So we might put a hint of some of her surroundings on the leather itself. Just a more reflective material. Kind of just feeling it out. I'm not making any final decisions, just seeing how it's feeling. I need to make a decision as to, am I going to allow soft edges with the cell shading kind of vibe? I don't know. Hmm. We were to start cleaning up some of these lines. What would that mean? Michael, I tell you what, you're not lying. You tell I'm blasting the aircon. I'm actually quite cool at the moment. Yeah, what is it getting up to today? Weather. currently 40 with a high of 43. Damn. Ah, the aircon's busted. Shit. Buy Dak Pasu. If you want to check out the layers, hop over to YouTube. You get the full view. Can't fit everything into the little screen, unfortunately, of Instagram. Yeah, I feel like that sky's a little bit too bright for our needs right now. Word banjo, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That contrast, baby. We could even contrast these two even more, I think, by removing the line work or having minimal line work on the car, but keeping her with the line work. So we like render this all up. So what I was thinking, if we take a snapshot of this or just merge everything that we've got so far. Oh, we've missed. What have we missed? All right, so that's what we started with. Got something happening. I'm just going to duplicate that quickly. See what we can do with some masking. What do you recommend for learning values? I would first ask, what do you want to use the values on? Why? Why? If frame designs, thank you. For say a city landscape at night and how a person in that scenery could be affected by the light. Well, that will then come back to understanding how light works. I think that would be one part of the puzzle. And seeing if you can get some reference of people in city landscapes. At night. Yeah, this is a vibe I'm going for. Something like that. I do love a good vignette. So it's good to test this sort of stuff as well. Like how it might look. Do we want to do that sort of scratchy, like, maybe not, I don't know. Or do we want to do something like, that's why I didn't go into too much detail over here, because I knew I wanted to do something like this. Fun fact, the person in the picture runs a YouTube channel called Hannah Burton, and she's a car racer. Oh, there you go. Damn nice. Okay, thank you. And values are used to understand how those colors work under certain environments. Values are the tool that we use to describe what light is doing. Light and values are two separate things. In the world, there are infinite numbers of values, right? Can't even comprehend how many there's, like, quote unquote values, differences in our light perception. And at different times of the day, different environments. If you walk out into the bright sun and then walk back inside, everything's hard to see, you know what I mean? So we're working with tools and in mediums that have a finite number of values or they're constrained to the medium's capacity to describe light, right? So that's what values are for, if that makes sense. We have to compress the values because there's no way, even with digital, for us to get something that's exactly like life. That's how I think of values. They're the lights and the darks of an image. Now I can start testing ideas out just all on the one layer. So then I'd come back to my all of my layers later on and just seeing if I can make more interesting silhouettes, push the, it's almost like a testing ground. And then for the post, I might push in. So I might test this out. I might group it. If we're being like, no worries with Banjo. If we're being very analytical here, I could crack open, like if I'm trying to get this to hit the explore page, what am I looking for? Carousel CTAIG mock. All right. So this is one I've worked on that I'll be posting when I've got it feeling okay. All right. See, this is more rendered. It's a little bit more loose. It's looser than I would typically usually go, which I'm happy with. But what I can do just as a tester for now, because this is very dull comparative to what it will be. So I can throw this in here. Let's even duplicate again. So we've just got the image coming here. Scale it back. All right, so then we can come in here. Come on. Yeah, in here, and then I can just cut it out. Do around about here. So this is the 1080 by 1350, I think. So I could just throw it there. Maybe I'd crop in if that's going to be more visually interesting. Just to begin with, for like one of the slides. And then I could whack this one. The cut and paste in Photoshop is very annoying. So what have we got here? So I can delete that one. I can copy this mask, whack it on there. No, it's not going to want to do that. Of course it doesn't. Replace mask. Thank you. And then we can find it again and then slide it over to see how it would show up in the explore page. This is if this is the goal. You know, if we're trying to be analytical about it, see how it's performing. It's just like you would do storyboards or look dev work for film and TV and the medium that you're working in. I don't see why you wouldn't do that if getting eyeballs on your work is also the goal, you know? So we can play around as well with the colors a little bit. I'm kind of liking the vibe of that. Too blue. Nah. Oh, that's quite nice. It feels very nostalgic. Love this. Very good life hack. Yeah, of course. Yeah, give it a whirl. It's surprising to me how many people don't do this. I'm like, wow. So you're almost giving people like a teaser of what's to come, because they'll see these little dots here and that's their indication, because it's been there for so long from a UI perspective. It's like, all right, there's something more. And then they would see the final smaller version. Because what I've seen, the explore page is where the stuff will start to kick off. So we can test it like this, and then we can say, okay, let's scale it down. What's going to be our second? Maybe I'll do it half off. So I'll start it there for the second one, and then it will slide to the next. Or I can try and fit it all in to the one maybe. It's going to be square aspect ratio, so that's probably going to work a little bit better. But yeah. Good little test. See how much that's changed. Just that little color change. So now I can use this as a reference to be like, all right, sick. It's like taking a photo with like a different kind of camera and seeing how the values, the colors shift and coming back in and adjusting it. Cool. All right. I reckon this is a longer one today. I had fun with this. But yeah, look, I'm going to leave you there. A massive thank you for popping in and joining me while I study, get some drawing in, have a good bit of fun, experimenting with different styles, different rendering things, different painting. So we started with a tomato and we ended up with a lady in front of a 7-Eleven. How's that, hey? Good bit of fun. And for those guys in chat, as always, appreciate the conversation. It's lovely to have a chat. For those that are lurkers, appreciate you just as much. All right. Thank you, everyone on Instagram. Bunch of legends. Thank you, everyone on YouTube. You're a bunch of legends. And look, these streams happen every week. My Monday, 10:45 a.m. Australian Central Standard Time, which I believe is around 4:30 ish PST Sunday. All right, every week. I'll be here every week, clocking in. I appreciate you guys. We're Banjo Tomoki, J-Toff, Super. As always, enjoy the rest of your week, and I'll catch you next week. All right. See ya.